You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and there's a lot to get to today. 2 huge stories, maybe a hodgepodge at the end, but I gotta start with another debacle with the New York Knicks. There's a lot to break down with them. The fight, the chant, the comment, and the water. One of those things is not like the other, but I feel like I should go in that order. It's tough to lose. It doesn't matter if you're getting blown out all year, or if this is your first blowout loss. It's tough to lose, and it's definitely tough to do it consistently. And that's what the Knicks have done. They get blown out basically every night. That eventually wears on you as a player. At the end of the day, basketball is a sport that is defined by winning. There are countless players that have had their legacies improved because they've won. A guy like David Robinson, who, all due respect to David Robinson, alright, great player, Hall of Famer, 2 NBA titles, was not as dominant as a guy like Karl Malone, Reggie Miller, or Patrick Ewing. You know why David Robinson is ahead of them on most top 100 lists? Because David Robinson has 2 NBA titles, and those guys don't even have 1. Basketball is a sport that is defined by winning. And you saw the frustration boil over for Elfrid Payton last night. Now, you definitely shouldn't shove someone like that. Thank God that there was no one sitting in those seats, or else fans could have gotten seriously hurt. That was the first thing I looked at. Oh my God, did any fans get hurt? Because the last thing the NBA wants is another Malice at the Palace situation. So Peyton got a little lucky there. I don't blame him for getting upset at all. For God's sake, he's a proud guy. He's on one of the worst teams in the NBA. And Jay Crowder really did act disrespectfully. You don't step out for a 3 like that after you steal the ball when you're up 16 with less than a minute left. That is a classless move. I understand the logic of, stop it. If you don't want us doing that, then don't let us get there in the first place. But at the end of the day, sportsmanship does need to come into play at some point, right? I understand playing hard, but there's a limit. Elfrid Payton was playing hard last night. There are more people defending Crowder than there are Payton, which is very, very surprising to me. I agree with Tim Legler 100% with what he tweeted about Crowder. Look, I have no idea what the suspensions are going to be, and Payton and Crowder are definitely going to get suspended because Crowder did retaliate. Which, I don't know what you want Crowder to do in that case. You want him to just chill in the first row after getting shoved? Yeah, that's going to go over well with his teammates and fans. Yeah, I'm just a pushover. I'm just going to hang out over here. Don't worry about me. Yeah, that'd go over like a lead balloon. But that's the way the NBA is. Crowder will be suspended, as will Payton. And life will go on for the Knicks. They will continue in this, I can't even say downward spiral. This period of mediocrity. This dumpster fire that they haven't been able to extinguish. When you have the majority of your fan base chanting "sell the team" last night, and I guarantee you, the majority of fans there, the majority of Knicks fans there, real Knicks fans, not tourists, not Grizzlies fans, not just the casual observer, real Knicks fans. Most, if not all of them, were chanting "sell the team" after the fight last night. When you have that happening, I don't know where else to go other than just a major overhaul of operations. Is Dolan going to sell the team? The answer is no. Unless James Dolan gets a $5 billion offer to buy the Knicks, which isn't going to happen, then he's keeping the team. You think a billionaire is going to look at the Knicks and say, yeah, the way that team is playing, I want to spend $5 billion on it? No! Playing in New York and playing at the Garden, that only accounts for so much. On top of the $5 billion, he's probably got to put in an extra $1 billion to make the team competitive at this point. That's how far they've sunk. Look, Knicks fans, I understand you want Dolan to sell the team. You're 100% right to want him to sell the team. There's no question that he should. There is no question that he is the worst owner in the NBA. And there's no question that he is one of the worst owners in the history of sports. It's just not going to happen. And at some point, you do need to make a statement. Whether it's protesting outside the Garden, whether it's putting up billboards, whether it's flying planes, or whether it's just not going to the games, not watching them on TV. Stop following them. Send a message. Save your time and money. That's how you get owners to pay attention. At the end of the day, there are very few owners that really care about the success of their team. They care about one thing, and one thing only mostly. The bottom line. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of owners that will trade a winning season for a profitable one. And Dolan's the same way. James Dolan does not care about winning as much as he does about making money. At some point, Knicks fans, you've got to make him listen to you. What you're doing isn't working. You've got to change up the approach. Just stop giving them your time and money. Don't wear the jerseys, don't wear the hats, don't watch the games on TV, watch the ratings go down, watch the attendance plummet, then maybe, just maybe, Dolan will pay attention to you. Now look, I know that that's a tough ask. How do you tell lifelong fans of a team to stop caring about them? It's very difficult. And this is really the last-ditch effort. The only way that the Knicks are going to get better is if James Dolan changes his approach. He's not going to sell the team, okay? It's just not going to happen. You can want it to happen all you want, but it's not going to. He's got to change up his approach. When Donnie Walsh was running the Knicks, he let Walsh do his own thing. When Phil Jackson was running the Knicks, he let Jackson do his own thing. Now, it worked for Walsh, but it didn't work for Jackson. Here's the biggest thing that James Dolan needs to figure out. He needs to realize the right people and the wrong people to put his trust in. And the fact that he has put his trust in Steve Mills, a guy who doesn't know a damn thing about basketball, tells you all you need to know about Dolan. And Scott Perry is not without blame here either, but Mills is the president. Mills is above Perry, so he gets the majority of the blame. Steve Mills traded Kristaps Porzingis for the sole reason of opening up 2 max free agent slots. Now, we can argue all we want about whether trading Porzingis and not giving him max money was the right move. It's irrelevant. The reason that trade was made was not to get Dennis Smith. It was not to get 2 first-round picks. It was to open up 2 max free agent slots. The master plan that Steve Mills put together was that they were going to win the lottery, draft Zion, and then Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were going to come to the Garden. And the 3 of them would win multiple NBA titles. Well, newsflash, idiot! This isn't 2K! You can't fix the system to make it so everything goes your way. You have to be realistic. You were tied with 2 other teams for the best shot at Zion. And you know what? You whiffed on him. Thank God that the basketball gods did not give Zion Williamson to the Knicks. Losing on purpose should not be rewarded with generational talents. Quite honestly, if you lose on purpose like the Knicks did, strip them of all their picks. Every single one of them. There is no excuse to undermine the competitive integrity of a game. What, you want Zion Williamson, John Morant, or RJ Barrett? No. You have to earn him. You have to put together a roster and try first. Then, if the season goes south, blow it up. I have no problem with that. But the Knicks went into last season wanting Zion. They tanked the season. They gave away their best player. All for Zion. And that was the plan that Steve Mills sold James Dolan on. He ended up with RJ Barrett. Okay, fine. You know what? Good consolation prize. I like Barrett. I think he's going to be a very good player in this league for a long time. But then the draft comes and goes. And this is the next stage of Mills' master plan. He's going to offer Durant and Kyrie the max. Well, at the end of the day, the players have a say in that too. And players care more about winning than home arenas. And the sooner the Knicks realize that, the sooner they will be competitive. That is why Durant and Kyrie went to the Nets. That is why Kawhi Leonard went to the Clippers. It is why Kemba Walker went to the Celtics. It is why every big free agent went where they went. They wanted to win. They didn't give a damn about playing at the Garden. It's the most overrated thing in all of sports. And the fact that Steve Mills couldn't realize that proves that he is inept. And he is enabled by an inept owner. After that, this is the biggest insult to Knicks fans. The fact that they seriously did this ticked me off to no end. They leaked to the press that they never wanted Durant. That they were concerned about his medicals. Are you joking? You're joking, right? You didn't give a damn about his medicals. If Kevin Durant wanted to be a Knick, Dolan and Mills would have each given him a kidney. But here's the worst part, and this is the biggest knock on Mills. The master plan didn't work. You know what? You still had gobs and gobs of cap space. You can rebuild with cap room. Sean Marks did it. He single-handedly turned the Nets from a laughingstock into a playoff team. What did Steve Mills, in his infinite wisdom, do? Sign every power forward left in free agency! What on earth is going on? This isn't 2K, you idiot! Positions matter! The NBA is getting smaller, so we're gonna get bigger. We're gonna bring the 90s Knicks back. We're gonna get the next Oakley and Mason. And David Fizdale is gonna be our Pat Riley, and we're just gonna bully teams into winning. Well, how's that going for you, stupid? You have a roster that's more concerned with playing over-the-hill veterans than your young guns. There's not a single young player on that team that hasn't regressed. This was your master plan, Mills. This is the guy that you trusted, Dolan. At the end of the day, this is the guy that you put your trust in to build a championship-winning Knicks team. The buck stops with you. You're the owner. You need to change. Blow everything up. Build around your young guns. I have no idea if they're going to become great players, but you've got to give them the chance. You can't tell me that Trier, Robinson, and Knox are lost causes. Here's what the Knicks should do. This is how they'll get competitive. Waive all the veterans that they signed last year. If you want to keep Randall, Payton, and Portis, I have no problem with that. They're still on the younger side. Fine. I can live with that. And I have no idea what those guys' contract situations are. I'm just looking at the roster here. Get Bullock off the team, trade Morris, get rid of Ellington, and get rid of Gibson. Use that cap space to take on bad contracts in exchange for taking on those bad contracts. You will get young players and or draft picks. It's how the Nets got D'Angelo Russell. It's how the Nets got the pick that became Jared Allen. Now, granted, this isn't a foolproof strategy. You've still got to draft correctly, and you still need to scout correctly. But assuming the new GM knows what he's doing and identifies the right players, that core will coalesce and will bring the Knicks back to the playoffs. Then, and only then, can you guys target big free agents. I don't want to hear about Giannis. I don't want to hear about Drummond. I don't want to hear about Anthony Davis. I don't want to hear about any of them until you win. Get to the playoffs, and then free agents will come. Big free agents. Not the Taj Gibsons and Wayne Ellingtons of the world, but superstars. Do you know why Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving really went to the Nets? Because they were a playoff team. It didn't mean anything that they played in New York. They could be in Walla Walla, Washington. And if they were a playoff team, stars would come. That's how the Knicks will make the playoffs again. If James Dolan doesn't find a GM that realizes that, Mills' ship has sailed, Perry's ship has sailed, and at the end of the day, he's linked with Mills. They have to blow the whole thing up in the front office. If James Dolan finds a GM that will do what I just outlined, it's a very simple plan. All it is drafting and scouting well. Something that any GM should be able to do. Then, and only then, will the Knicks be competitive again. How long was that? Holy moly, over 20 minutes. Okay. I'm going to finish up the two other Knicks points I want to make. And then I'll get to Zach Cassian because there's a lot that I want to say about him, and that'll be it. The other Knicks points are Marcus Morris's comment and the water not working. Marcus Morris, you know, you just can't say that. Do I really need to tell you that? Are you that stupid? Look, you're allowed to be upset. Just like Peyton was allowed to be upset. But for God's sake, you don't say that Jay Crowder's woman-like. There's a better way to say that. Just say he's a classless player. That's fine. Here's the issue with the media. And the leagues allow this. They bring the media in too early. You've got to let the players decompress. Their emotions are running high, and they're bound to say something stupid. Now, that doesn't excuse what Morris said, but it's the latest in a long line of stupid things that athletes have said after games. And that's not just insults to a whole gender. It's trade requests. It's insults to their teammates. It's a whole host of things. He should just apologize for it and move on. It's really not that big a deal. Believe me, the Knicks have more important things to worry about than that. I mean, for goodness sake, there's something going on with them every night. Every night, it seems. There's another circus with them. How on God's earth do you turn off the water after a game? I've never heard of that before. You've got to be kidding me! Did you ever watch Netflix's Fire Festival documentary? We need Andy! We need Andy from that documentary to drive across the island and procure water. I'm not going to say how he was willing to do it, but the clip is on YouTube. I don't know what you would search, but you'll be able to find it. I'm sure Fire Festival Netflix water scene will get it for you on YouTube. That guy Andy is awesome, man. Shout out to him. You can't make this up. You just can't make this up. They turned off the hot water. There was no water pressure for the Grizzlies to take a shower afterwards. Oh my god, I have no idea what they ended up doing, but can you imagine being on the bus after that? Holy god, it must have stunk to high heaven. Break out the deodorant. You know what the Knicks should do? Quite honestly, just issue a formal apology to the Grizzlies and make a joke about it by sending them a bunch of bottles of water. Make a joke about it, say we messed up, and everyone will have a good laugh about it. But until you do that, I mean, it's the latest act in the circus that has become the New York Knicks. And look, I'm a Nets fan. It doesn't bother me at all. No one hates the Knicks more than me. But stupidity upsets me. And there is no stupider organization in basketball and in sports, except the Cleveland Browns, than the New York Knicks. Alright, that's more than enough about the Knicks. On to Zach Kassian. The reason that I'm bringing him up is not because he got into a fight with Kachuk yesterday. I'll get into that, I promise. I'll get into all of that. But it's because he got an extension. And there were a lot of people that didn't like that extension. But I'll tell you, I did. I'll tell you how much it was for, alright? It was for 4 years at a $3.2 million average annual value. So that's 12.8 total. If you watch Kassian play, you can see he plays the game the right way. He's a good third liner, and he'd be a great fourth liner. I don't think the contract is an overpay at all for him. I like Kassian. I'd want him on my team in a heartbeat. Alright. That's enough about the extension. Now on to what happened with him last night. Of course, he got into a fight with Matthew Tkachuk, and Kassian won. Now, give Tkachuk credit for not turtling during that fight. They did the right thing by going at it late in the first period. You had to know that was going to happen. They squared up and they fought. Nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. That's how the NHL should be. The players should police themselves. Moreover, Kassian wasn't wrong for ragdolling Tkachuk 2 weeks ago. If you watch the 2 hits that he gave Kassian a couple weeks ago, the first one was dirty. That was to the head and neck area. He may have gotten the shoulder, but it was a high hit. And I think he was headhunting. There's no place for that. I don't know how that wasn't the penalty. But whatever. It's not the first missed call that the refs have had in their lives. And, Tkachuk is a needler. He does things like that. He's not the cleanest player on the ice. The second hip check, though, that was clean. It was a clean hit, and I have no complaints with that. What I have a complaint with is when Zach Kassian went after Tkachuk. Tkachuk skated away. He turned his back to Kassian and let himself get thrown around like a rag doll. Have you no shame? I'd be embarrassed to be that guy's teammate. Holy God, could you imagine Mark Giordano doing that? After Kassian went after Tkachuk, he just turtled. You've got to be joking. You're going to throw two big hip checks and then turtle when the guy wants to fight? Especially a guy like Kassian, who's not going to take that from anyone? You've got to know better than that, for God's sake! Your father's Keith Tkachuk! I hope that he gave you an earful after that, because that was a disgusting act. Here's the one great thing about that scuffle 2 weeks ago. And no one talks about this. I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever. You know the game I'm talking about. But here's what no one talks about from that game. Connor McDavid sticking up for Kassian. McDavid's the best hockey player in the world. Guys like that usually don't go anywhere near scuffles like that. Instead, McDavid went right after Tkachuk and gave him a good nudge. Now, he didn't drop his gloves and start throwing punches, but he stuck up for Kassian. He stuck up for his teammate. I give Connor McDavid a ton of credit for that. Man, I'll tell you, it's one thing to be a great offensive player, but to be able to match it by playing the game the right way like that, oh man, this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer. I love watching this kid play. Best player in the world, and he's only 2 months older than me. He's only 2 months and 5 days older than me, to be exact. You can do the math. I can guarantee you one thing. If the NHL season ended today, the playoffs would feature the Battle of Alberta. Flames-Oilers. Make yourself stay up for those games, because those are going to be the most exciting games of the playoffs. I don't even think the Stanley Cup games will be more exciting than the Battle of Alberta games. It's only a 3-hour drive from Calgary to Edmonton, or vice versa. It's just the Queen Elizabeth Highway. I looked it up. Oh man, I would do that drive. I do that drive every day to see those games. I think they're going to be fantastic. All you have to do is look at yesterday's game. It was a great game, a back-and-forth affair. It went to a shootout. David Rittich stood on his head, stopped Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Draisaitl. And he did a stick flip to celebrate afterwards. Oh, man. Calgary's probably going to win that series. They've beaten Edmonton at least twice before this year. But it's going to be a great, great series Make yourself stay up for that, please. I know I will. I have no problem getting to bed at 1 in the morning every night when the NHL playoffs are happening. They're the best playoffs in sports. They should start earlier, but I understand that you have to be cognizant of the West Coast folks. It's just frustrating to have to pull yourself out of bed after staying up until 1, 2 in the morning watching overtime hockey. And it's always the West Coast games that are the overtime games. You ever notice that? 2.5 months until the Stanley Cup playoffs. Can't wait. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a big Super Bowl preview. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else with it. All I know is I've been waiting a long time to do this. I wanted to wait and just do it once rather than repeat myself over and over and over again. I wanted to give original opinions on things all throughout this week, and I've certainly done that. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that it takes 43 Marv Throneberry cards to get a Carl Furillo.